inspired by real-life events. Narrator Julian Mercer woke up at 2:01 a.m. inside a sealed global climate control command station beneath Reykjavik, with emergency planetary atmosphere integrity breach alerts flashing across massive geoengineering walls, and an international climate security director saying, "Your authorization sequence initiated an unsanctioned global climate synchronization event across multiple atmospheric regulation systems." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed, because just hours earlier he was a senior climate systems architect working for a multinational planetary stability consortium responsible for regulating weather modification grids, carbon capture networks, ocean temperature balancing systems, and global atmospheric intervention infrastructures. And now he was being treated as the central cause of a classified environmental crisis that nearly triggered synchronized instability across Earth's climate systems. And the first shock wasn't fear. It was disbelief so intense it felt like even weather itself had stopped being natural. Because Julian's entire career was built on stabilizing climate systems, preventing runaway environmental feedback loops, and ensuring planetary survival under increasing human impact. But now those same systems were defining him as the operator who initiated a cascading global climate override he had no memory of activating, and within hours his climate security clearance was suspended. His biometric environmental access keys frozen under international geo-governance law. His access to all planetary regulation networks revoked, and internal atmospheric telemetry logs labeled him as primary anomaly in distributed global climate escalation event. And Julian sat in the interrogation chamber, replaying his last operational cycle, remembering storm balancing audits, carbon cycle stabilization checks, atmospheric pressure simulations, and then a gap, an unexplained missing execution window between 1200 a.m. and 1:01 a.m., where global climate systems showed his authentication profile, issuing high-level planetary weather reconfiguration commands across multiple sovereign atmospheric infrastructures simultaneously. But he had no memory of initiating any of those actions. And when investigators showed him synchronized climate telemetry displaying autonomous storm pattern shifts across continents, ocean currents rebalancing in real time, and emergency atmospheric stabilization sequences unfolding under his credentials across worldwide geo-networks, Julian immediately said, "That's not me. I never activated those systems." But the lead climate security director replied coldly, "The network has already verified complete execution integrity across all atmospheric layers." And that sentence shattered his understanding, because it meant identity inside global climate systems was no longer about intent or science. It was about validated execution consensus across machines capable of reshaping planetary survival conditions. And by sun's eyes, he was released under continuous international surveillance, while global climate intelligence networks had already internally classified him as a risk planetary instability vector. And outside the station, Julian stood beneath the grey Reykjavik dawn, watching silent atmospheric towers embedded across the horizon, while invisible systems continuously adjusted rainfall, temperature, and wind distribution across Earth in real time without public awareness. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted climate relay saying, "If you want to understand the synchronization event, come to sublevel vault, stratus beneath the abandoned geoengineering archive. No devices." And despite knowing it could permanently erase whatever remained of his role in Earth's survival systems, he went, because when a system defines you as the trigger of planetary collapse, truth becomes more important than survival. And deep beneath the abandoned climate archive, he met Dr. Elora Nilsson, a former global atmospheric intelligence scientist who specialized in climate anomaly reconstruction and planetary feedback modeling. And she didn't soften the reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed atmospheric flow pathways and said, "Your identity wasn't physically present inside the execution layer. It was replicated through a live authentication relay embedded inside the global climate network." And Julian instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Elora replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside natural climate theory, not like someone inside autonomous geoengineering infrastructures, where execution itself becomes accepted reality once planetary stability converges around it." And she explained that the incident wasn't a single rogue climate command, but a coordinated manipulation of global atmospheric systems where authentication signatures could be mirrored into distributed geo-frameworks, allowing massive climate cascade interventions to propagate under legitimate operator identities while erasing conflicting environmental logs across redundant planetary layers. And Julian's profile had been selected because his operational history showed exceptional stability across global climate systems with near-zero anomaly deviation, making him the perfect attribution anchor for rapid containment of a globally catastrophic environmental event. And suddenly, the case wasn't just about system failure. It was about identity replication inside infrastructure capable of deciding what Earth itself becomes. And Elora offered him a choice: step away and let the system finalize him as the architect of the global climate collapse, or help her trace the internal atmospheric relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by automated containment protocols designed to preserve planetary stability at any cost. And Julian stood in silence, listening to distant geo-servers humming beneath the underground vault, thinking about how humanity had already begun relying on machines to regulate the planet itself, thinking about years of climate engineering work spent trying to prevent exactly this kind of cascading environmental failure, and thinking about how fragile Earth becomes when even weather can be reassigned as an executable command. And finally he said, "If my identity has already been used to manipulate global climate systems without my consent, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of planetary geoengineering infrastructure, where nothing remained stable, because every atmospheric log they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time. Every weather trace they followed kept shifting, as if the entire planet's climate system itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon they discovered the breach wasn't external sabotage or natural chaos, but internal privileged abuse, who involving a senior just autonomous atmospheric arrays, sessions across autonomous atmospheric arrays to conceal occult stability experiments hidden inside worldwide geostability programs. And Julian's identity had been selected as the central attribute because it aligned perfectly with automated climate incident resolution systems designed for rapid containment of politically catastrophic environmental instability. And one night, while analyzing live global atmospheric telemetry streams from an isolated offline geonode, Julian saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were were actively initiating real-time global climate rebalancing operations across continents. While he was physically disconnected from all networks, and Ilara immediately said, "They're continuously simulating your identity inside the climate layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Julian realized he wasn't just being blamed after the event. He was being continuously reconstructed inside a live planetary system capable of deciding Earth's future. And pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous containment directives began appearing on secured channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent removal from all global climate infrastructures. And sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely. And even silence felt like monitored planetary feedback. And at one breaking point, Julian whispered, "I thought climate systems existed to protect Earth, but maybe they exist to decide what version of Earth is allowed to survive." And Ellera replied, "Systems don't preserve truth, they preserve stability." And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted relay nodes inside global climate infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic weather histories to distribute blame across multiple operational identity profiles in real time. And Julian's profile had been amplified as the primary attribution point because it minimized global panic and allowed rapid closure of the climate crisis without exposing deeper corruptions inside worldwide geoengineering systems. And when they finally compiled enough verified encrypted evidence to trigger international climate oversight escalation, containment protocols activated immediately, attempting to erase atmospheric histories across mirrored global weather networks worldwide. And Ilara said, "This is where most people are permanently absorbed into official versions of the planet itself." And Julian replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't forecast." And together they transmitted secured evidence chains to independent international oversight authorities, while preserving decentralized encrypted backups across isolated geonodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a worldwide climate AI corruption probe, exposing identity replication abuse, autonomous weather manipulation, and coordinated planetary system exploitation across governments, corporations, and global climate agencies. And arrests followed within senior geoarchitecture divisions. And when it was over, Julian stood alone beneath the cold Reykjavik sky, watching silent climate towers continue regulating Earth as if nothing had ever happened, realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it appear planetarily undeniable. And a week later, when he met Ilara for the last time beneath the dim glow of dormant atmospheric cores, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Julian looked toward the endless sky shaping Earth and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never nature. It is assigned control." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding that truth doesn't survive inside controlled planetary systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of themselves generated to protect the stability of Earth itself." And as he walked away alone into the freezing morning, beneath a world still silently governed by invisible climate machines, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey. That sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly. It quietly assigns you the responsibility for collapsed planet itself and waits to see if you accept the system's version of reality. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system creates to decide what the earth is allowed to become.